Welcome back to the Morning Drill. We have some special guests joining us this morning. You all know Pastor Ron Hipwell from the First United Methodist Church here in Titusville. And with him, he brought somebody special today. Your name?
I'm Nate Greenway. I'm the Executive Director at Wesley Woods, which is just out in Grand Valley, Pennsylvania, about 15 minutes from Titusville. So
Very nice. Now, how long have you been there?
May 1st.
May 1st.
So
just a few weeks.
About 3.5 weeks, yes.
Well, before we get into your role out there, let's learn a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How'd you get to this point?
Goodness. Where I'm from is an interesting story, and it's very long, so I'll make it succinct. I'm a son of a Methodist preacher. So I've lived in Kentucky, most of western Pennsylvania, Butler, Erie, and then Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And then back to Kentucky for a while. And then most recently, after we got married, I've lived in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, and then the greater Pittsburgh area for the vast majority of my time. And then how I got here was I was working for a company called Schroeder Industries, which sells hydraulic filtration products, and not incredibly happy. And one day I said, God, if I could not be here, that'd be okay. And the next day, one of our board members, Chuck Fowler, called me and said, hey, would you be interested? We just accepted the resignation of the previous director. Would you be interested in coming to interview or submitting a resume? I said, yes. And 4 months later, they extended me an offer. And
Wow.
through the interview process and everything else.
So what were your first impressions of Wesley Woods?
Wesley Woods is a very loyal following of people. They have a board that really wants to see the place flourish, and it has just been, they've just not been in a place to do that very well as of late. And they've been managing to bring back some of the finances so that we could do those things again. And we're in a place now where we have the ability to manage the expectations and actually tackle some issues, which is a great place to be in, because for a while it was just, we need to balance the budget. Now it's, no, we need to make this a viable property.
It really is a beautiful, beautiful place. One of those hidden secrets, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit to get there, but that's, I think, part of the charm of it. It's a nice ride out, and there's so much that goes on out there, or at least in the past, there's been a lot that goes on out there, and a lot of kids, a lot of adults in this community have gone to Wesley Woods for a number of activities. And maybe, Pastor Ron, you can touch upon some of those things that take place out there.
Well, I met my wife there.
Wow,
good place to start. No, actually.
Well, how long have you known of Wesley Woods?
Well, since I was a little boy.
Wow.
I started in elementary school to go to Wesley Woods to camp, and one of the stories about a lot of the pastors in our conference, many of them received their call at one of our camps. A lot of them at Wesley Woods, because many people from all over northwestern Pennsylvania have utilized the camp and have had wonderful camping experiences as children, and have led camps there as well. And so, my own experience was I went there as a little kid. Just there are things that I still remember from my time there, but actually in college it was a place for employment for me. And both Bonnie and I worked there together 3 summers. At the end of the third summer we got married.
Wow.
So anyway,
so
there's more of the story. But
for people who think, oh, he's new to the community, you've known this part for a long time.
Oh yes. Yeah, I was raised in Oil City, so I've been close to the Titusville area, and so that was, we've spent a lot of time in the region. I served once we came back from seminary, and I served in Seneca, was of course just outside of Oil City as well, and so I have a lot of history in this region. Other places in western Pennsylvania, but a lot in this region.
So, your experiences at Wesley Woods growing up, obviously had a big impact on your life. If that were to go away, there's a lot of kids over the course of a year that would miss out on that opportunity. How many kids get involved, and what are the numbers like over the course of a year?
So Over the last 3 years, we average, in our summer camping program, which is affiliated with the Western Pennsylvania Conference, we average 765 kids from June to August.
That's incredible.
And the goal this year is to have 800 registered campers. We're tracking a little behind, but over the course of a whole year, probably 1,500 to 2,000.
That's
kids
incredible.
and/or adults, with the goal being to expand that to significantly, so that we can begin to look at improvements or expansion of our living quarters. Because right now we don't utilize all of the beds, or even close to all of the beds most of the time. So we have to really begin to manage and target groups that we can bring in to use those beds, and then as a result of them being on camp, we have other program opportunities that we can use, but we need to get them there first. And then once we get them there and they've seen what we can do, the business model will actually grow itself.
Is that a board task, or is that your
That's my
task?
job.
Okay.
My job is
So you come up with the ideas.
Well, in conjunction with the board, but as the executive director, my role is really to manage and grow the business of the camp and the ministry of the camp. And yes, it is a ministry, but it is also a business. I have to balance the books. So
just borrow, keep borrowing.
No,
I'm kidding.
no.
Do you sit on that board?
No, but Bonnie does.
Okay.
So we've had a lot of interconnections with the camp and the board over the years. Actually, Bonnie's dad many years ago was the president of the board, and so
Wow.
we've had a lot of history. But
So then, do you feel like you need to help with ideas, or what's your or Bonnie's role in this case? Would it be coming to you saying, what do you need from us to make this job?
That's ideal. Does it always happen? No, but I've only been here 3 weeks, and
well, we're expecting a lot out of you today.
and we've done a lot in 3 weeks. I'll be honest, because but typically, and again, I've only experienced one board meeting, so. But we'll report what's been going on, and if we need decisions, we'll ask for decisions to be made. And so far, they've been very responsive to those issues.
So, what kind of go through the summer, I guess, a little bit, or what what sort of camps take place out there?
Oh, I can do that.
Okay.
We have a variety of programming options, from horse camps to which actually horse and pony camp make up 50% of our roster.
Wow.
It's the largest portion of our program. And then we have, and our vendor Mike Eck does a progressive program. So you can start at, if you're 13 and have never been to horse and pony camp before, you could start on a beginning level in the same group with kids who are more advanced, and that just allows for open enrollment, so that we can, he gauges where kids are as far as how to deal with a horse, how to handle a horse, and then fits them up with an appropriate mare or horse depending on their skill level and the horse's temperament.
Right.
The last thing we need is anybody getting chucked off of a horse. So he's pretty good at that. And then we have adventure programs, which highlight our challenge ropes course, rock climbing, canoeing, spelunking, or in layman terms, caving, and any other various activities could incorporate geocaching, things of that nature. The nice part is we're so close to the Allegheny National Forest that we can do a lot in there with the right permitting. But it's such a huge resource, and Kinzua Dam's close, so we use the Clarion River, portions of the Allegheny River, and if Oil Creek is high enough, we'll use Oil Creek for canoeing. So we have a wide variety of programming for the adventure portion as well.
And they've had like Rocket Club out there before.
Yep, ARC, Astronomy, Rocketry, and Computer Camp. So they'll actually be out at our Green Hills facility where the telescope is, and they'll spend their evenings looking at the stars and calculating trajectory of rockets and all sorts of interesting stuff that I have no clue what it actually does.
But they're out there enjoying.
But they're out there
space,
enjoying Wesley Woods and learning about stuff. We also have a CSI camp, which is much like the show CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, where they'll set up a mock crime scene and they have to go through and figure out what happened. A MACD.
More along the lines of Las Vegas or New York. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I was really thinking San Francisco.
San Francisco, right.
But the other camps we offer, MACD, which is like a clown kind of skit drama camp. And
that's the one you attended as a kid?
No.
No, okay.
I don't know what would have made you think that.
No. And then we had like MiniCamp for younger kids who can't handle a full week away from mom and dad, so they come up on a Sunday or a Wednesday and leave on a Wednesday or a Saturday.
And that's actually pretty important. I guess when you work with kids, that first experience when you drop them off and you leave, I mean that's a little scary for both parties. So to have to offer something like that.
Well, and even further, we actually offer what we call ABC 123, which is a mini camp essentially, but mom and dad are there too.
Okay.
So they have the kids can come for 3 days with their parents, and the parents are still the primary caregivers. But what it allows is the kids to get used to the camp setting with mom and dad, so they can begin to understand this is a safe place. We can have fun here, and mom and dad can begin to see how our staff interacts with the kids, so that the next year when they come, they don't have this angst about okay, I've been there, I know it's
familiar
safe.
To
it's familiar.
My parents dropped me off at a camp and never came back, so
that explains a lot.
That explains a lot.
My parents did the same thing. I went to 1 year of summer camp.
Did you?
I never went back. I just had a bad experience, and now we just had our staff trained last week, and one of the goals in that is to foster a community, a Christian community, but also is to teach them everything they need to know, and to do that in the 8 days is insane, which is why I have little bags under my eyes.
I'm sure by the last day, though, I mean, everybody's they've hit their stride and they don't want to leave.
It honestly depends on the kid. Some kids can't wait to get out, but most of the time, we have kids who they don't want to leave. They want to come back, or they're already talking about and making arrangements for next year.
And it's all, well, you kind of pointed to this meeting your wife there, but it's an opportunity for these kids to meet other kids that they maybe typically wouldn't. I think one of the best experiences, and the last time I was out there and stayed was with the school district for the hunting and the 6th grade camp that they have out there. But I liked how they didn't pair you up with your friends. They separated you, and it made you talk to other kids, and you got to meet other kids, which is scary at first, but by a day into it, and definitely by the end of that week, you've just met some really good friends that you keep in touch with.
And those are valuable experiences because it really helps children and even young adults to get exposed to there's a bigger world than the community that they've been in. I remember that even when I was growing up, that a lot of the camping experiences, they intentionally brought children from the inner city to camps, and that was a brand new dynamic for them.
Wow.
We think of sometimes going to an inner city of a large community, and it's kind of fearful for us. Well, for some of the inner city children, coming to the woods is an utterly terrifying experience too. But I think what you touched on, the interaction of people from various communities, is a really great experience for them.
And to Ron's point, we actually have a young woman on staff from Erie this year, who's from the inner city area, and she won't go out in the dark.
Wow.
There aren't enough lights.
Wow.
We're in the middle of the woods, so it's dark. I mean, it's dark.
But the flip side to that is, and you hear this, people who live in the big cities, and we hear this from the students who come from Philadelphia or Pittsburgh to go to Pitt here. At night, they look up and they see stars.
Yeah. Wow, yeah.
That sounds kind of crazy, but I mean, Wesley Woods is a fantastic place just to lay down and look up. Yeah.
So and it is. I mean, we live in the middle of nowhere. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Coming from a big city and and realizing, oh, Walmart's 4 miles away, but it still takes me 20 minutes to get there.
Right.
Whereas a Walmart here's 15 miles away, but it only takes me 20 minutes to get there.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to comment on is that the camp offers all of these different kinds of experiences and all these, they're kind of hooks. We want kids to come for for swimming, for horseback riding, for all these things, but we really want them to have an encounter with God and to experience His creation, to experience it in a completely different setting than maybe they're used to, but where they might not only have these interpersonal relationships with people from other communities, but that they might come to realize God in a personal way.
I've noticed there are some kids who go out, they come back, and maybe they get more involved in their church. I've heard those stories. So that's going to be nice to be able to see that, where it just doesn't end at the end of camp, but it continues throughout the year. And it seems like they continue to talk about it all year because it had that much of an impact on their life. Is it, I guess what your role is, is it also reaching out to other churches and saying, this is what we have to offer? I'm sure most of them know, this is open to not just the Methodist community. Correct. Is that correct?
That's very correct. We are affiliated with the United Methodist Church. Our summer camping program is in concert with the United Methodist Church. But does that mean that if somebody's Lutheran or Catholic, or that we will turn them? No, absolutely not. The wonderful thing about the United Methodist Church in and of itself is that it is generally a pretty open forum. And the primary thrust that we have now is connecting with, going to United Methodist churches, but also other churches in the region, and targeting them. And I'm going to say that because that's the strategy, to target them, to go out and strategically ask them, what do you need? Here's what we have. What can we do for you? In line with facilities, in line with programming, the community development pieces, and really, offer our services and hope that they can begin to come and use the retreat season as a more than we have in the past, but also that then becomes a feeder into summer camp. So they're kind of cyclically related as far as what feeds what, but in terms of how we are looking to develop Wesley Woods, first and foremost, we're a Christian community. The tagline will be something to the effect of, we're currently rebranding, but the tagline after Wesley Woods will be something like a Christian Camp and Conference Center. And I don't have approval, so I can't say that that's what it'll be yet, but I'm hoping that that's what it will be, so that people understand it. Yes, we are affiliated with the Western Pennsylvania Conference of the United Methodist Church, but we're not exclusive to that. We currently have a Polish Catholic group come up in August. We have some other Roman Catholic groups and things that come and use our facility because it's nice. It's a wonderful place.
And I've heard other churches in town also promote the activities out at Wesley Woods, and I think sometimes other pastors will head out to get involved with some things once in a while.
Sure.
Yeah. We several. The pastor out of Youngsville is there regularly for the United Methodist Church, but a third of our board is pastors. It's actually written into our bylaws that way, so that we have and maintain that connectionality. That's one of the things about the United Methodist Church is that we aren't. It's not a call system like the PCUSA, where the church can decide, oh, we don't like this pastor anymore, so they have to go find a new one. This is an appointment system, so we have a bishop, and there's somewhat of a hierarchy involved in making appointments for pastors at certain churches. And when you're told okay, you're moving, you move. But at the same time, because we have that connectionality and that intentionality in those connections, there's a continuity there that other denominations don't necessarily have. And what that allows is for us to build connections, not just with Ron as a pastor of First UMC Titusville, but also the congregation and the community as a whole, and use those connections to further the impact that Wesley Woods and the church can have on each individual community.
Ron, is it noticeable today that kids are glued to this sort of thing instead of going out and playing. Is it getting harder to get kids to go outside of their comfort zone?
Yeah, it sure is, and I'm not sure what all the rules are for each camp, but I know a lot of places where there are retreats and camping programs that people are discouraged from using electronics. Is that going to be true, at least in some of the camps this summer?
For summer camp, kids are not allowed to bring their cell phone. They are told that in advance. And if we find it during check-in, we give it to mom and dad and say, you know what, you can bring this back at the end of the week.
So there's withdrawal that they're all going
Yep.
through, but that's a good withdrawal.
And moreover, if sometimes mom and dad say no, they need to have their cell phone, and we go, no, they really don't. We will keep them safe.
Wow.
If there's an emergency, you will hear from me. And there are a lot of reasons for that. One is,
and you guys don't even have phone lines out there, so it's like smoke signals, right?
I wish. No, they actually Verizon just put in over the last year a cell phone tower, so I actually get to use my cell phone on camp, which is wonderful. I'm kind of glued to it. I have the same problem.
Well, see, maybe you should go to camp for a week.
I live at camp, so it wouldn't be anywhere near as much fun anymore.
But I think having a rule like that, and it's not just withdrawal, but they become so dependent on that, but to be at camp where they are having these conversations with other adults and other children really helps them to see that they don't need those things all of the time, and that can be an easy out for kind of withdrawing into your own personal world, or maybe making an immediate call to parents instead of taking a day to maybe work through that anxiety, that fear, and get to that place where
it just seems like that personal interaction just keeps little by little going away. I mean, last summer I remember sitting in our backyard. We had a get together, and everybody's sitting around a little fire, and instead of talking to each other, they're doing this. Put the phones. And in fact, I think as a group we decided, if we go to somebody's house to visit, you put the phones away. And you talk. I watch people at dinner. They'll sit and go like this. I think it's fantastic that you guys say,
so while you
leave
guys
them
are
here.
talking, I just need to take this.
Go ahead. Put the phones away and have that open dialogue with people. Go ahead, you can take it. But these kids need to learn that interaction. And this is a great opportunity where they can go for a couple days or a week, and that's all they're going to get.
And more to the point, our staff still have their cell phones, but they've all been, our summer staff have all been instructed that when you're with kids, don't even bring them out unless it's an emergency. Wait for your off time, wait for your downtime to make the calls or to call the people. You should not be posting Facebook. And there are a lot of reasons for that. One is if they don't intentionally foster the community that we want, the kids aren't going to see it, the kids aren't going to feel invested in, and then we've just lost. But the other reason, really, it has a lot to do with liability, and if somebody just gets hurt and people are just snapping pictures or Snapchatting photos. There are all sorts of HIPAA reasons that's wrong, and so we do a lot of the training, but everything we do is very intentional. So when we had our staff in for training, for instance, I noticed that there were 3 groups of people at 3 different tables for the first 2 meals. And the third meal, I said, okay, everybody look to your left, look to your right, go sit at a table other than those people. And you have to be intentional about fostering relationships.
So we're sitting here talking about kids not doing that, but
our staff wouldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's human nature to go to people you want to. So even in training, it's go meet with somebody you don't know. Or, oh, by the way, figure out how many times you say I. Count the number of times you start a sentence with I think or I, the pronoun I, rather than, hey, how are you doing? And when you actually begin to count how many times you use I, we realize how much we are the center of our conversation and not the broader community or the people around us or the kids that we're going to be trying to connect with.
And not that all technology is bad. Obviously, you guys probably use some of that to help promote what's going on at the camp.
I have a wonderful staff that do that for me because I don't know anything about Facebook or social media.
But people can go on and get information on what sort of camps are available?
Yes, we have a website, www.wesleywoods.com. and you can register online for summer camp there. We also have a Facebook page that I think it's Wesley Woods of Northwestern Pennsylvania. I think they have a Twitter account, and I think we have a Snapchat account. But again, nothing works better than actual word of mouth, person-to-person communication about the facility. All those things are nice, and all those things are, in my opinion, unfortunately necessary in this day and age. But that doesn't mean we're not going to use them. It just means that we need somebody who actually knows how to use them, because it's not me. And that's okay. We all have different gifts. So Sam and Marie are two of our year-round staff who are spearheading those events, and they're those mediums, and they're very good at it. We send out our press releases over Facebook now. We also send them to local newspapers and the conference center, so that the word can get out about activities and upcoming events and things of that nature. So it's a work in progress, but we're going to continue to utilize the technology that God has given us, or let be made to our advantage, and leverage it.
Well, it helps when you have people like Pastor Ron Hipwell to help spread that word
and get me connected with people.
Absolutely.
And the local church, and particularly in our case, the United Methodist Churches in the region, it's really important that we support Wesley Woods, not only by promoting children to be there for camps, but the economy over the last number of years has changed, and it's still very expensive to send kids to camp and to maintain the facility. And so there was an opportunity. For example, our church has adopted a cabin where we invest a certain amount each year to help maintain that cabin. We also give money just for the general funding of Wesley Woods, and so
that's great.
Other United Methodist churches in the area, however small or great that they can do, that kind of funding helps just to maintain, to make this available so that children and youth and even adults have these various experiences that can go on there. So
that's fantastic.
So as a 501c3, we have the opportunity to raise funds. But and the goal being in that is to eventually, or hopefully in the next 6 months, be at the point where any funds raised go directly back into the camp immediately, and not looking at, okay, what do we need to do to balance from our booster fund or whatever. So it's really exciting, because we're at the point where that's almost happening.
That's great.
And when that does begin to happen, then a lot of the things, a lot of minor little nice touches that just haven't been done because we've been worried about other things will now be taken care of.
That's wonderful. So if people have an interest, do they call you directly, or should they call the church to get that information?
Either or.
Yeah.
You can call Wesley Woods. You can go to our website. You can
and the phone number and website again?
I can only give you my cell phone right now, unfortunately. But you can call it. It's 814-758-3905.
Okay.
And if I don't know the answer, I'll write it down, jot a message, and hand it to the person who does, and they'll call back.
Excellent.
Because I don't know everything, and I'm not going to try. That would be foolhardy.
and again, if maybe they can't reach you, they can contact First United Methodist Church right here in town.
Yes.
They could stop in and visit with anybody in the office.
Yeah, and virtually all the United Methodist churches should have access to the information either online or brochures that are printed, and we have in our local churches.
And if you go to wesleywoods.com, all the summer camp information and all of our cabin information is on there, and you can contact us at info@wesleywoods.com.
And it's not too late to get involved this summer, correct?
Oh no,
Okay.
Please don't. No, registration's open all the way up until 3 days before the camp for each individual camp, and we have camps that don't start until the last week of July or first week of August. So June camps are actually pretty full for the most part, or at least the horse and ponies are. But we still have July and first half of August.
So instead of a dog and pony show, you're doing the horse and pony show.
Well,
something like that.
That was really bad.
That's a really bad joke.
That was a really bad
I hate to end it on that, but...
but
can I just throw in that not everyone will meet their wife when they go to Wesley Woods.
No.
However, anyone who goes can have a life-changing experience,
Yes.
and that's what's really exciting. It's not just because it's a place, but everything that goes on there is meant to stimulate those interpersonal relationships with other people and relationships with God that, that they might not experience in another place. And so it's really a unique opportunity to that end.
Yeah, and we're all about relationship. Everything is done to foster those relationships, not just, so when we sit at the dining hall, the staff person might be asking questions that seem fairly conversational, fairly normal, but they're very guided, they're very intentional, and meant to begin to break down the barriers to build a community where it's safe to have deep or intense or sometimes even heated conversations about the differences of the theological implications of who God is and what he means to us and what we mean to him. So it's all intentional.
Great discussions.
So
excellent. Well, listen, best of luck.
Thank
It was a
you.
real pleasure. Please come
It's a
back.
pleasure to meet you.
Keep us updated.
Yeah.
Pastor Ron,
will.
always a pleasure to have you on the
Excellent.
program.
So
We'll have to have you guys back. Keep us posted on what's going on.
we will. We'll
All
be
righty.
back.
Very good. Again, if you have any questions, you can call cell phone, visit them online. What you recommend people calling you at, 3:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
Or stop in
Only if it's an emergency, please.
and get more information at the First United Methodist Church here in town. Or if you're viewing in Meadville or Oil City, Franklin, any of the Methodist churches should have the information. So
And again, if they don't, www.wesleywoods.com.
there you
is
go.
the best place to go to get the information.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The Morning Drill will be back right after this.